All right, boys, baseball is back. We overreacted to the first opening weekend of the Major League Baseball season. Here it is. Welcome back to the Just Fantasy Baseball podcast. My name is Rami Lavi. That's Vince D'Amato. And I got to start here, Vince. I was told I have to start here. Apologize to everyone for being so wrong about Starling Marte. How dare you?
I want to know what I said. What were my words about Starling Marte that got you so upset? Because all I said, I think I remember, and maybe I'm misremembering.
You've gone there.
I he needs to stay
again,
healthy.
He's going for Starling Marte. This is his guy. Well, yeah, you know what? So I knew you're going to go to the health thing. It's a cop out.
Right.
I'm sorry. It's a cop out.
Okay.
Because he's looking healthy. He never looked this good last year, even when he was healthy.
Yeah.
And this was my whole point, that he looked better this year. He looked like he was in better shape. He played winter ball. That was the whole thing. And so when Ryan and I were talking about this last night, we said you cannot use the health cop out because sure, he may get injured, but guess who else may get injured? Shohei Ohtani. I don't know. Anyone else. You could use that excuse for literally everyone. And right now, he looks like the beautiful Dominican man that he is from the Pittsburgh days, from the prime of his career. And we know that at times in his career, he's been that good. And I told you going into this year that I had faith in him. And I know it's early, but he's been on base 50% of the time that he's been at the plate. He's got 3 runs, and most of all, his at-bats look good, and he looks extremely healthy. He's moving well out there. I just don't, the first at-bat of the season, that was just a victory lap for me. Just very first at-bat, hitting the home run. But I thought his game in game 2 yesterday on Saturday was almost more impressive, where he works a couple of walks, working at-bats, when the rest of this lineup has been horse shit, and that's what the Mets have been, and I'm kind of upset by it and a little bit surprised. This guy has been really good.
Well, how about this then? When he plays less than 100 games this year, you're not allowed to come back at me and say, oh, this is a homer pick. I get to come back at you and say, no, this is exactly what I said would happen. We're 4 games into the season or 3 games into the season at this point. Take your 3-game victory lap. I'm okay with that. Okay, Ryan, I'm sorry that maybe I pooped on your favorite guy, right? But this is what happens, right? Guys maybe get off to a week of a hot start and we're like, oh, this is it. We still got a lot of baseball to play. Okay. And like one little tweak in Starling Marte, he had some neck issues, right? He had some like weird things that just like don't really sit well with me. So I'll take the loss for the first 3 games of the season. He has looked great. That home run you tagged me in was beautiful. And like you said, he's on base quite a bit. So I'm not out on him, but at the same time, like, I'd be hesitant to buy back in. So that's just my 2 cents. Sorry.
So I just don't. But here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
We do a podcast. We host a podcast twice a week throughout the baseball season.
Right.
We're supposed to be doing this twice a week throughout the baseball season.
Sure.
So what? You want me to just wait 6 months to start giving you opinions on things?
No.
Before you let's not say anything.
Before you take your victory laps on the off-season stuff.
Let's wait and see.
No, before the off. Yeah,
okay. You're right. I'm not going to react to anything that we saw over the weekend because why should I? We need to take
I got plenty of overreactions.
That's not
I'm
what we're
full of
supposed to be doing here.
Yeah. No, I'm ready to overreact here.
Give me one, please.
Okay, so opening weekend overreactions. Nick Pivetta is a top 10 starting pitcher by the end of the year. If you didn't catch any of his start, he looked phenomenal. And it's one of those guys, Nick Pivetta has been, that all of his underlying stuff has kind of looked good throughout most of his career. And it's just never kind of clicked for him. And so watching it click for him on his first start, it was phenomenal to watch. And that was a game where he went against George Kirby, and it was such a fun game, like back and forth. And he just had that one mistake to JP Crawford, which, just hats off to JP Crawford, I think. But that was just a fun game to watch. But I think Nick Pivetta maybe puts it all together. That's an opening weekend overreaction because he's never done it and he's, up there in age, but certainly could be a top 10 starting pitcher by the end of the year.
That was a fun series. Like,
Yeah.
so far, like Boston and Seattle, maybe not what you expected to be the most fun opening of all the opening weekend series. That's
Right.
been a really fun series to watch. I don't know if you've gotten, like you said, like some of that stuff has been really fun, obviously with
The
Castillo
pitching
and Bayo.
has
Like
been
just the
great.
pitching matchups
Yeah,
have been
Cutter
excellent. And
Crawford was great.
yeah,
Gilbert,
it's
yeah.
it's been an awesome series to watch. So
Mhm,
if you've been watching that, by the way, I should mention this. It's Sunday morning now, so we haven't even gotten
mhm.
to like the middle
The Sunday
or the
games.
end of the Sunday games.
Yeah.
I have to run to work a little bit later, so catch me on WFAN for about 15 minutes if you're
If you're
between.
somehow listening to
Yeah,
this.
so basically between the Yankee game and the Net game, there may be like a little buffer period where they need someone to fill. So I might be hosting like 20 minutes. And guess what I'm going to talk about? The Mets. But yeah,
And
either
Starling
way.
Marte being an MVP, NL MVP.
No, that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about Pete Alonso being at the freaking what the hell is his name?
The was it Luke Bryan? Yeah, some
No, not
concert.
Luke
I saw that. I
Bryan.
don't know. I don't know. Some
It's the
country singer.
teeny bopper pop country guy who's fake country, not real. Zach Bryan. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was at Zach Bryan last night, like dancing and singing around on stage till 1 a.m. while his team is getting like losing and then also getting stomped on and just embarrassed and bullied by freaking Reese Hoskins, who proves that you can take the guy out of Philly, you can't take the Philly out of the guy. And I love that. I mean, that's awesome. I think Pat Bev proves that every day. Also, he's just such a Philly athlete, even though he's not there anymore. Anyway, not the point. The point is that I don't even know what the point is. I agree about the Seattle series. Do the Houston Astros suck? Like, can we get there? No.
No,
I mean,
no, no,
I don't think so. But
no. They're fine.
I like it. I've liked what
Yeah, I'm
I've
sure
seen
you
so
do.
far.
Right.
Their bullpen has sucked.
Mhm.
Um, Although, what's his name is so good. Josh Hader is going to be ridiculous this
Yeah.
year.
Yep.
He's pitched in like every game. I know, or I don't know if he pitched in the second game because the Yankees did end up pulling away from
Yeah, I
that
don't
one.
think you did.
I don't think he did, but just watching him, the dude is stupid good. I mean, so that's pretty good. Juan Soto is just a reincarnation of Babe Ruth.
That was one of
Um,
my other over. I don't know if you want to wait. If do you have
no,
an overreaction?
go, no,
No.
please go.
So
That was gonna be, yeah.
my other overreaction is that Juan Soto and Fernando Tatis should have been the number 2 and 3 picks in drafts this year. Soto, like you mentioned, is the reincarnation of Babe Ruth, whatever you want to call it. He's on base so far at a 600 clip. Like,
600.
and he's only got one home run. And I don't know if you saw it, Rami. I'm assuming you
I
did, but
did.
like, it's one of those. He just like flicked his wrist the other way and it was gone. And like that kind of power. Okay, he's got one home run in 3 games. Like, he's not blowing the cover off the ball, but that kind of home run just shows me like it doesn't take much for him to pop one off opposite field. Like he's gonna have a monster
He's
year.
a
So
line drive hitter. He's not trying, and they talked about this on the broadcast. I don't know if you
sure.
heard this, but
No.
he's not trying to hit every ball out of the ballpark. But because he has so much power, he's going to run into them. So at this point,
Yeah.
he doesn't need to. He's batting in front of Aaron Judge, and Aaron Judge is off to a horrendous start through 3 games, but he's off to a
Mhm.
really poor start. And it's so funny. I just used 3 games there, but I can't use it earlier. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
funny. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Double
yeah. Whatever.
standard. I
We'll,
like it.
we'll
I
gloss
like
over
it.
that. We'll keep moving. But Aaron Judge off to a pretty bad start, really bad start. But still, Soto's just getting pitches to hit, and he's like, I'm not trying to do too much. A lot of these are just line drive singles and doubles. And he did have one on Saturday that went off the wall, or maybe even 2 that went off the wall and left. So that almost went out off that high wall. That looked really similar, where it's like pitch on the outer half, just go with it and go the other way. And that's just a great hitter and a contract here. And he looks fired up. He looks engaged.
Yeah.
People said at times in San Diego, Washington, he didn't look engaged. And maybe it's just being back in Houston. Maybe it's opening week, whatever it is.
Right.
Maybe it'll wear off, but I don't think it's going to wear off anytime soon. When he gets in front of that Dominican crowd on Friday at Yankee Stadium, I mean, he's going to want to show off. He's going to want to put on a show for them. He pulled up. He's never done this before. I think one other game in his career and then the home run derby, but he pulled up game 1 opening day with the high knee socks like that he never wears. He's throwing dudes out from the outfield. Like,
Yeah, that
this
was
is a
great.
guy, and I know that doesn't get you anything in fantasy, but it's a guy who clearly at times in his career has had question marks on the base pass, has had question marks about his defense. And you're seeing right now that this guy is fired up to be here. And again, I don't know if it's going to wear off, but ride the wave now because this dude is freaking awesome. So I love that. Let's go. Do you have any other overreactions?
No, just the Tatis. I just want to make sure Tatis gets his flowers. I
Yes.
mean, he's
Go ahead.
6 for 19. He's got 2 home runs so far, and one of the home runs was just kind of it was almost the exact opposite of Judge, right? It was a slider moving away from him, and he like extends his arms and hooks around a pitch on the outside corner and just puts a laser into left field. I mean, it's just one of those like only 15 people on the planet can make a swing like that on a pitch like that, and he makes it look so easy. So Tatis, I think when it's all said and done, people are going to be like, wow, he is, should have been top 2 or 3 pick this year, because the speed will come. He hasn't stolen anything yet, but I'm not worried about that. So just want to make sure he gets his flowers there too.
Another guy that you could put in that category, who's just like, yeah, we all should have seen this coming, and maybe this is like the year that he's just ridiculous, and it feels like this team is going to be unstoppable, and they probably win 100 games, and that's Gunnar Henderson, right?
Yeah.
Off to a fantastic start, and I know it's against the Angels and they stink, but just another guy in that category was Soto and Tatis, where it's like maybe you took him in the back half of the second round or something like that, and it's like, could he end up giving you top 10 value? Very likely,
Yeah. Yeah. Even Mookie. I didn't mention Mookie, but Mookie's been on fire too. Like,
what's ridiculous is he went for, I think he was the second to most expensive guy in our league, right? In our auction league. And somebody just wrote on the chat, like, Mookie worth every dollar, this morning. And I was like, yeah, he is. He's really been. Let's quickly move on to waiver wires. So what we're going to do here, and we're going to do this every Sunday, we're going to have our waiver wire picks, people who are on waiver wires in most leagues, and you have an option to pick them up. Go get them. That's what we're going to tell you, as well as what we're going to do. And you see the topics if you're watching this on YouTube, which you obviously should be, and like and subscribe, all that. So those are our overreactions. We have the waiver wires. We're going to talk about streaming pitchers, which is big. It's not so big in yours in my league, I feel like, or maybe it is big in yours in my league, because the point is we can't roster really more pitchers than we're actually putting in our starting lineup, because it's not a league where you change the lineup daily. Now, in my other league where I'm changing the lineup daily, I try and get as many starts as possible. Just, get as many strikeouts as possible. So I'll put 3 starting pitchers on my bench and then rotate them in as we go. In our league, it's a little bit different. You set your lineup for the week, which might make more sense if you have one pitcher. You could just drop them, and then you're looking at guys who's going to have 2 starts this week, stuff like that. So it's a little bit different depending on the league. So we'll get into that. The injury report is obviously because we have had some ridiculous injuries so far to start the season, unfortunately, across the board. So we'll get into that. And then obviously we have our MVP of the week, which is you and I will each pick one guy who has been an MVP for whatever reason. We're not going to pick Mookie Betts every week. Maybe you'll pick him this week. You're not going to pick Juan Soto every week because that would be a cop-out. But we're going to pick one guy. Maybe it's an unexpected guy. Maybe it's a guy who helped us in our league. Maybe it's a guy who, I don't know, for some reason we want to give him the MVP, whatever the reason may be. It's just going to be a little fun segment that we do on Sunday. So we'll change it up. We'll see how some of these segments work, but that's what we're doing today. So with that lovely introduction that I probably should have done off the top of the podcast, let's get into the waiver wires. Waiver wires. Who do you have that's on waivers currently that you think everyone should be running to pick up?
So I do want to mention this guy's probably not on waivers in most leagues, but on the off chance that he is, go pick up Jared Jones. Okay. Again, he's rostered in 70% of Fantrax leagues.
Yes.
The reason why I say it is just because he was a guy that, not everyone was in on when drafts first started. So there's a chance that he's still available, but just want to mention him. I mean, 10 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings, like just looked unbelievable. So the first one I just wanted to mention was Jared Jones. And then the second one is Oswaldo Cabrera. Rami, you mentioned it right before. It feels like a little bit of a home run pick with that one, right? But that's kind of what we're here to do, right? We want to make sure that you guys as players, as fantasy baseball players, are finding these guys immediately, right? Cabrera is now getting playing time because I think, because DJ LeMahieu's been
and
out,
now DJ has actually a foot fracture. So it's not just like, oh, I'm going to be out with a bruise like they said it was, and the Yankees continue to lie to you, and that's whatever. But no one cares right now because this guy's been awesome. And John Birdie was supposed to make his debut yesterday. And Aaron Boone, a departure from past Aaron Boone seasons, decided to ride the hot hand. And so, and
Yeah.
we talked about the pitch with so I just wanted to mention this real
Yeah.
quick. We talked about the pitch with Soto. How about the pitch that's 2 inches off the plate inside to Cabrera, and he turns on it, pulls his hands in and turns on it and pulls it to right field? That's not easy. That's a guy who's obviously been working on something. That's not just someone who, oh, he happens to be hot right now. When you watch his at bats, when you watch how he's gotten to the numbers he's gotten to, and then the clutch numbers, the fact that he hit 2 game tying home runs in 3 games, right? The 2-run shot, and then obviously the solo shot. I mean, this guy making the most of his opportunity. And sometimes it's good to find guys like that, that when you need the most, you make the most of their opportunity. Guys who are a little bit desperate, have a reason to prove something. We talk about the contract year guys. That was one of the things we talked about before the season. But a guy like him who just doesn't want to give up his role, he barely made the team out of spring. Like if LeMay is not hurt, who knows if he makes the team out of spring?
Yeah.
He makes the team. I don't think he's going to lose playing time once DJ comes back, because he'll slide over to be the backup shortstop, to be the backup second baseman, to play in the outfield. We've seen him play everywhere. And it's funny, he's playing third base now. I think in most leagues he's like only outfield eligible, right?
Yeah.
Which is funny. He's the starting third baseman for the Yankees currently. And I just don't see how the Yankees take him out of the lineup, and I don't see him cooling off anytime soon. So that's a great pick.
Yeah, like you said, so he'll have
Shocking
third
I'd
base.
say that as a Yankee fan, I know.
He'll have third base outfield eligibility, and he's only rostered he was drafted in 11% of leagues. A lot of people have probably went and picked him up, but now he's still only rostered in 40% of Fantrax leagues. So go get as much Oswaldo Cabrera as you can. And he's one of those guys, if he doesn't pan out, if he does start to cool off, DJ comes back, he loses playing time, it's easy to cut these kinds of guys because they just pop up, right? We weren't expecting it. But like you said, I don't see him cooling off anytime soon. He's looked phenomenal, and roll with the hot hand. That's what fantasy baseball is about. So, and then the last one, actually, I'll let you talk about my last one because you had the same guy on your list as well. So do you want to start off with this guy?
I'm assuming you're talking about Michael Conforto from the San Francisco Giants. Well, we know on this podcast we love the San Francisco Giants. I think they're going to overachieve. I think they're going to be a really good team. Not even overachieve, just overachieve the expectations that maybe other people had for them. I think they're going to be really solid this year. So I have Michael Conforto. He's off to a great start, obviously. Pull it up real quick. 5 runs, 5 RBIs. He's batting .462, and he has 2 home runs. 2 of his 6 hits are home runs so far. And he's looked great doing all that. And this is a guy who we know, another guy, and it's different than Cabrera in the sense that we know that this guy at points in his career was a really good baseball player. And then he obviously has the whole debacle with not signing the extension, the Scott Boras thing. He's like the OG screwed by Scott Boras client, and then he sits a year out essentially. And it's like, wow, where is this guy? You know what I mean? Like a guy who was really good. Like he wasn't this bad that nobody's signing him. Like what's going on with him? But we've seen him be a really strong, really capable, really like good baseball player at points in his career. Really effective. And if he can get back to that point, I want to check how old he is because I don't feel like he's that old yet. I don't know if you have that in front of you.
I do. He is 31.
Yeah. Like it's not like we're talking about a guy who's 35 years old and is washed. He's 31 years old. He's essentially still
kind of the prime of his career.
Yeah. This guy could be an excellent. He could have one of those seasons if he's batting in the middle of a strong lineup, which I think he is. He could have a really good season. This is not, and he's not losing playing time anytime soon. That's the other thing with Oswaldo Cabrera. You worry about, DJ comes back. You worry about him cooling off. He has the track record that he's gotten hot at times and then cooled off. This is not that. This is a dude who I think can sustain this for an entire season. And when I realized that I was going to make this my pick, because I was already leaning this direction, but I realized I was going to make this my pick. I saw the promo for the Sunday Night Baseball tonight, which we should talk about at some point. ESPN potentially wanting out of their contract with Major League Baseball. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I did.
Wild stuff. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting when where the league is currently. But I'm enjoying baseball right now, so I'm not going to complain about baseball. We'll complain about baseball in a week when the Yankees start losing games and, I'm hating baseball. Then we'll start complaining about it again. But the promo went, catch Michael Conforto and the Giants take on their division rival, Mookie Betts and the Dodgers. And I'm like, wow, what? Michael Conforto is the guy they're using in the promo, but he's been that good this year. So that was your final guy, so I'll let you guys say a couple of words about Michael Conforto. Also, I already picked him up in our league, so screw you. Haha. I wanted to pick him up in my other league too. And I did. I picked him up in both of my leagues last night. So yeah.
Yeah, the reason why I didn't go for Mike Conforto is because I had picked up Cedane Rafaela earlier this week. He's another one. If he's still out on your waivers, consider grabbing him. He may not play forever, but he's I have faith in him. He had a strong spring, and he's a great defender. So, but yeah, getting back to Michael Conforto, one of those home runs was a grand slam. So I do want to be maybe slightly cautious, because take away that grand slam, turn it into a solo home run, and now
All
he's
of a
got
sudden,
2
he has
home
one
runs and
RBI.
yeah, 2 RBIs, right? And so, but either way, it's a good start that he's 6 for 13. He's obviously got some power that he's still showing, right? You can't knock a guy for hitting 460 in 3 games. So, yeah, I think that's a good pickup. So, yeah, I would roll with Michael Conforto if he's still available.
The other one is certainly specific to our league, and I saw he's already picked up in our league, but I think he's only like 60% rostered. And then I still think he's valuable in other leagues. That's Ian Hamilton. I think he has 13 strikeouts so far in something ridiculous. I mean, he's been no, so he has 3 strikeouts in 3 innings. He's only given up a hit. He's been awesome so far. And again, it's another guy that when you watch him, he's been dominant, and he's pretty much been the Yankees setup guy. Like, they've been using Loaizaga kind of in that high leverage role, where whenever we need outs, let's bring in Loaizaga, kind of the Michael King role from last year. But they've been using Hamilton pretty much exclusively in front of Clay Holmes in that 8th inning, or the other day, 7th and 8th inning, right? So he's pitching multiple innings already, and he's also going to come in and pitch for sure the 8th inning. So that lends itself to holds, right? That's what we're looking for in that league if you're in a saves holds league. And if you're not in a saves holds league, Clay Holmes is wild. Clay Holmes is a wild card, and he doesn't have a good control. When he's good, he's great. I don't know if he's going to keep this closer role. From what I've seen so far this year, I know he'll get into certain runs where he's just dominant and no one can touch him for a couple months at a time. I get that. And everyone says, the Yankees keep saying he's the closer. But what I've seen from this Yankees team is like there's a certain sense of not desperation, but a certain sense of urgency from day one that we've never seen. And today's lineup for the Yankees is going to be telling. Are they showing that sense of urgency today? Because after winning the first 3 games in Houston to start the season, if this were last year, if this were 2022, 2021, this would be what we called, and we called this all the time in Yankee Twitter, WFAN world, the punt game on a Sunday day game, end of a series. You won the series already. They would have the punt lineup out there. We'll see what the Yankees lineup looks like today, and I think that will be telling as to where this team is going and whether or not this team, and I love Juan Soto. This dude plays 162 games. He kind of got nicked up, something on his ankle, and they asked him, are you going to play? Are you going to play tomorrow? He's like, yeah, why wouldn't I play tomorrow? And then he's like, do you feel any pain? He's like, no. Like, just simple. Like, yeah, I'm hurt. So what? Let's go. And the Yankee lineup is out. So let me give it to you just because I'm talking about it. And if you're listening to this, the game might have already happened, but Torres is in the lineup. Soto's in the lineup. Judge is back in center field. Rizzo's in the lineup. Stanton's in the lineup. Verdugo's in the lineup. Volpe's in the lineup. Trevino and Oswaldo Cabrera. My point is
no punt. That's not a punt.
Not a punt lineup. This is their full lineup. And this is a departure from past Yankee teams. I truly believe that if Clay Holmes is struggling, it's not going to be as long of a leash as it's been in past years. And Ian Hamilton could end up being the closer and getting you saves. I truly believe that. I saw somebody write it on Twitter last night. The Yankee fan prediction: Ian Hamilton will be the closer by July. I don't know, but I don't know if he'll be the full-time closer, but maybe they go a little bit more by committee and he's getting 10, 15 saves this year. Steal a few saves with Ian Hamilton, especially if Clay Holmes is in one of those ruts and he gets in those ruts and they last for a couple weeks. You know what I mean? So yeah, if he starts to get hot again and all of a sudden he's dominant and untouchable, which sometimes he is, part of the reason he's untouchable is because no one has any idea where the ball's going, himself included. His first pitch of the season, he came in and he threw it over a guy's head. And I was like, oh boy, here we go again. And he got bailed out by Juan Soto making an incredible throw. But I would keep an eye on Ian Hamilton for sure for our league, but also in other leagues.
Yeah, that's a good call. I absolutely love the call. He's rostered in 18% of our league Fantrax leagues, and he has been picked up in our league. So someone is paying attention
I
again,
know. I looked.
like you
I told you
mentioned.
I looked. Yeah.
Yeah, like the saves and holds league. Um, and like you said, with the desperation of the Yankees right now, or don't call it desperation, call it urgency.
Yeah.
If Holmes does struggle, I think you're absolutely right. This could be one of those situations where Hamilton just takes over, and if he's hot, why would you ever give it
You
back to
wouldn't
Clay
relinquish
Holmes,
it.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
we're seeing it with Oswaldo
mhm,
Cabrera. He's earned
yeah,
this role. He hasn't
yep,
sat yet.
yep. So find those hungry guys, ride the hot hand, and maybe they just prove to you, hey, I belong here. I should be in this lineup. So good call out there. I love it.
All right. Streaming pitchers for this week. Who do you have?
So I picked two. One, he's not officially actually listed as like one of these starters. I don't know what the hell the Los Angeles Angels are doing.
Nobody
But
knows what the hell the Los Angeles
yeah,
Angels are doing, including the Los Angeles Angels.
they don't have a starter listed for tomorrow or Tuesday as of yet. So there's a chance that this one doesn't work out. But if you have, and the way I like to look at these streaming pitchers is maybe a guy over the next couple days, because we'll do this episode again on Wednesday or some sort of similar stuff on Wednesday. Maybe we'll look at some guys. So I want to give people Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday kind of starts. So the first one that I think is going to get some run is Chase Silseth for the Los Angeles Angels. Again, he's not listed as one of the starters right now, but I imagine he's going to start on either Monday or Tuesday against the not so scary Miami Marlins. And Silseth had a phenomenal spring. So, and a great end to the second half of last year. He's not going to give you huge strikeout numbers, but he's got the command and control. He's got the stuff to, limit runs. I could see him going 6 innings and, maybe allowing a run or two. And for a guy who's available in a lot of leagues, I think Chase Silseth is a great streaming pitcher for this week. So, I mean, he's rostered in 65% of leagues, so he may be gone already, but certainly somebody to keep an eye on, because I imagine that if he has a bad start here and there, people are going to drop him because they're like, oh, he wasn't good enough anyways. Just keep an eye on him throughout the year, because I think he's going to be good more often than not.
So here's a guy who I have, and he's actually starting today. So it wouldn't, if you're not one of those leagues that you could pick him, you have to pick him up for the whole week. Maybe it's not worth it this week. But a guy who was injured and people had question marks about, but at times has been a really successful starter in his career. Again, plays on a good team, not that old, not rostered in a lot of leagues. John Gray.
Mm.
For the Texas Rangers. He's starting for them. They're defending world champions. They're going to score a lot of runs. So if you like wins, if that's what your league does, if they do wins, maybe try and get him. If you're doing quality starts, it's a guy who does strike out a lot of guys, throw a lot of innings, and he's done that in his career. And he was dealing with this neck injury, but he's starting the first week of the season. So, he's healthy. So I would say if he's available in your league, you may end up getting a guy who could be middle of the rotation type starter, if not better, for nothing right now on waivers. And so even if this week is not the week, I would just say maybe pick him up right now, because if he comes back in his first start, he looks good, people might take notice. So maybe before he makes that start, and this could be an old takes exposed type of thing where right away, he has a terrible start off the bat, but still, I wouldn't give up on him after one start unless he gets hurt again. I think people are more concerned about his health than anything else. And I think if he's healthy, he's proven that he can be similar to Conforto, not to the level of Conforto, because I don't think he was ever that great. But he could be a really solid MLB starter.
One thing I will caution is so he's slated to start against the Cubs today,
Mm-hmm.
which I'd start him against the Cubs. The Cubs offense has not looked good, but then he is scheduled to pitch against Houston late next week. So probably don't start him there, even if he looks great against the Cubs. I'm probably not taking that kind of risk. But
That's fair.
I do agree with you that I think John Gray has quite a bit of potential throughout the year as a streamer. So good call out there. I wanted to bring up a game that for the streaming pitchers, I think you can almost stream both sides of this, and it is happening. What's today? The 31st. Today's the 31st. It's
Mm-hmm.
Easter. Happy Easter, everyone! If you celebrate
Yes.
Easter, if not, have a great Sunday. But the
Thank you.
game that I want to bring up is going to happen then on Tuesday. It is the Cubs versus the Rockies in Chicago, so not in Colorado. Javier Assad had some good starts last year. Again, he's in the rotation because there's no Talion. Obviously, Justin Steele just got hurt. We'll talk about some injuries here maybe in a second, but Javier Assad is a guy I'm going to keep my eye on. I don't necessarily trust him in the long term, but against Colorado, I'm almost willing to throw anyone, right? Anyone who's pitching against Colorado right now, I'm kind of willing. Okay, I'm going to take that gamble. They're kind of in that, Oakland Athletic territory where no matter who's throwing against them, you have to at least consider them as a flyer. And so the reason I want to bring up this whole game is because on the other side of it, and I may get some slack for this one, Rami, I don't know if you saw the opening game between the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. Did you catch that one?
I did catch some of that. Yes.
Yeah. Kyle Freeland started that game, and here I am telling you, consider Kyle Freeland as a streaming option against the Cubs on Tuesday.
I don't hate it, by the way. That you have to be able to do that. Like, even, and this is what somebody always says: get clowned in the group chat for a week. What's the worst thing, or for a day? Like, it's okay. All right. So he had one really awful start. Let's see what happens.
He's a professional.
Yep. Yeah, and he's supposed to be their their number one starter. Like, he's not going to be that bad. And if people are staying away because of that one start, that's an opportunity for you. Look at that as an opportunity.
And especially, he had a phenomenal spring, and everyone was kind of ready to jump all over him. And I think that last start is going to scare everyone off, right? He's only rostered in 25% of leagues. So he's more than likely available. And if he's not available now, somebody's probably going to drop him when they realize, oh, what a horrible start. So he's one. Just keep an eye on. Again, the Cubs right now are not exactly a scary offense. So Kyle Freeland, someone to keep an eye on for Tuesday's game.
Yeah. So speaking of Arizona, the Yankees are playing in Arizona, and then they're playing at home against Toronto over the weekend. So this guy's probably going to start 2 games this week. And he's also had an awesome spring and won over the 5th starting job for the Yankees. That's Luis Hill, or Heel.
Heel, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Spelled Gil. So if you're looking for him, and he's been awesome in spring. He's always had the stuff. He had I think it was Tommy John surgery last year that kept him out, and that's why he didn't pitch the entire season. But there's no restriction on him. He's been out for a full year now. I think a little over a year. And he's going to come in. He won this rotation spot for the Yankees. And I have another guy, by the way, Joe Boyle, won a rotation spot for the Athletics.
Mm-hmm.
These are guys who I like because they're both guys who won rotation spots, and similar to Oswaldo, have something to prove. And I think their first couple of starts for Hill, again, Toronto could be a tough lineup in Yankee Stadium, but it's colder weather in Yankee Stadium first weekend of the season there. So, like, maybe, it's not, the ball's not flying out there like you're used to. Arizona's lineup has obviously looked good, as you mentioned. But maybe, again, I think he has something to prove. Joe Boyle also. 2 guys who won starting spots, rotation spots out of the gate, and definitely want to keep those spots. They know they're earned, they're not guaranteed, and they want to prove something. So their first couple of starts of the season are going to be important ones for them. And if you can get them for those starts, I wouldn't mind.
And this is one of those, I think this is a great call out. This is one of those that's a win-win for us fantasy baseball players, because if I'm available, if I have the roster space, I want to pick up Luis Hill right now, because he's going to go out, right? And he's going to pitch against the Diamondbacks, good team, and then against Toronto, another good team. And if he struggles, most people, if they picked him up, will probably drop him. But as the season goes on, you're absolutely right. This is someone who earned this job. He's hungry. And if he struggles in those first 2 games, people are going to write him off. But he's one that you just got to kind of roll with for a couple weeks, because once he gets those bad pairings, or those pairings that's like, this team's not very good, or this team's kind of sluggish right now, he's going to go out and throw 6 shutout innings with 10 strikeouts. Like, that's the kind of start that we can come and anticipate for him. And the other reason why it's a win is because if he comes out and he shoves against Arizona and Toronto, well, now he's picked up everywhere, right?
Everyone's going to want to pick him up.
Yes. So he's definitely on that fringe where it's like, you pick up these guys, you take the risk. Maybe you start him at, the first game, and if he doesn't do well, you sit him for the next one, and vice versa, right? So, well, not vice versa. If he does well, start him again. But it's one of those, pick him up, take the risk, and give him a couple weeks, because I think that's a good pick right there, Luis Hill.
Your boy Kyle Harrison looked good, by the way, first
Yeah, my
start,
boy.
huh?
Yeah. He did. And he's gonna have these. There's no doubt about that. But he's gonna have starts where he walks 5 guys,
Everyone,
and
yeah.
yeah. So
All
just be
right,
cautious about him. Mhm.
hit us with the injury report. I want to hear what you got on injuries because I know there's been a bunch already. So tell us what you got.
Yeah, so these are just some of the ones that have happened since the season started, some of the bigger ones. This one just pains me. Rami, so in our league, I have this guy, and I took a little bit of a risk on him, and it's Royce Lewis, right? And this is, I
We
think,
talked about this, yeah.
this is one of the biggest painful moments in all of fantasy sports and just sports in general, right? We hate to see this because this guy, I don't say this lightly, Rami, this guy could be AL MVP not even could be. I think he is AL MVP caliber if he's healthy. And he has suffered a severe quad strain. He is just resting for at least a month, and then he'll be reevaluated. So you're looking at quite a long recovery time. And the fact that this happened on their opening day is just, it's all the more painful, especially after hitting a home run and then a single. Like, it sucks. So that one really hurts. Royce Lewis injured. If you're in a dynasty, maybe try to trade for him or something, but you're probably without him for quite a while.
Hmm.
The next one would be Justin Steele.
Yeah.
I originally was really hoping, because when you try to lip read and you do all those things when he's on the ground, it looks like he says it's a cramp, and so I was really hoping, oh, maybe it's just a
Yeah,
cramp, maybe
I
he's
thought it was
out.
just
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And no, he's out. We have a grade 1 hamstring strain, and they say he's going to be out for at least all of April. So he was put on the 15-day IL, but he'll be out for at least a month. It's not a minimum stay kind of thing. So that one definitely kind of hurts, because he was also looking phenomenal.
He
Like,
looks good. Yeah,
he was looking
exactly.
really, really good, against a very tough Texas Rangers offense. So that one does hurt. Another two that I'll mention, Sean Murphy, who I was drafting as, I think, definitely a bounce back kind of guy. I think that, he's much better than he showed throughout all of last year, and especially towards the second half. I think he's one of the better offensive catchers in the game, but he is out. He had a left oblique strain that he
Hmm.
suffered while swinging a bat in like the 7th inning. So that one kind of hurts. And then the last one, another guy that I was kind of buying into at a really cheap cost, was DJ LeMahieu.
Yep.
And we mentioned the foot fracture. He'll be
Foot fracture.
reevaluated
Yep.
in 2 weeks. So I'm really happy that Gleyber Torres is not out. I was very concerned for a second. I thought he was going to miss a couple weeks or something,
Yep.
but he was
I
back
mean,
in right away.
Rizzo in the
So
first game gets hit on the wrist with a pitch,
yeah,
and you're like, oh boy, here we go
yep,
again.
here we go. Yep. So those are all the big injuries. I don't know if I missed any that you noticed,
No,
but
I assumed you'd cover them, and you did. And yeah, this is the type of thing where it's like this is freaking baseball in 2024, where they're all muscle strain type
yeah,
injuries where the timeline is undefined, and these are the type of injuries. I mean, with LeMahieu, I guess it's a foot fracture, and it's like, all right, let's hope that heals. You put it in a cast or whatever, however you deal with a foot fracture. These undefined muscle strain injuries that we don't know what's going to happen with no timeline, and God knows what happens when they do come back. I mean, this has been baseball for the last, it feels like 5-10 years. As a Yankee fan, I've experienced it with Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge about every week. So, um, yeah, it's not fun. It's not looking good for them. And by the way, like Aaron Judge, who wasn't healthy during spring and now struggling to start the season, like monitor that. Like
yeah,
I'm not going to be an alarmist here, but monitor that. If maybe he is hurt, right? I don't know. But that's the injury report, and that's also again all those guys. We don't know when they're coming back.
yeah.
There's no guarantee.
Hmm.
But there are some guys who are filling in and doing a great job of it. So
Hmm.
we got our MVPs of the week. You want to kick us off with your MVP of the week?
Sure. So I will mention a couple honorable mentions because it's so hard, right?
Please.
3 games. A couple honorable mentions that I'll mention. That was redundant. I'm not going to say
Yes.
Mookie Betts, but I'll say just Mookie Betts. And then Grayson Rodriguez had a phenomenal start. He's someone to certainly keep an eye on. He could end up as a top 5 starting pitcher. Had a great start to start off his season. And then Michael Harris is another honorable mention. He's 6 for 9 so far with a home run, 1,800 OPS. Like, I think that guy is just ready to absolutely explode. But the real, I think, MVP so far, especially given where people were probably drafting this guy, if at all, is Lourdes Gurriel Jr. For the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yep.
So far, he is 6 for 13 with 3 home runs. He has hit a home run in every single game so far for the Diamondbacks. He's locked into a starting role. He's, in one of the better offenses in baseball. He's got 8 RBIs, 5 runs. He's hitting 460, 1700 OPS. Like, just compared to where you probably picked this guy and the performance that he's giving you so far, I think he's my MVP of the week and someone that every team should be very lucky to have if you have him already.
Yeah, and again, that lineup has looked really good. Grain of salt spot a little bit with the fact that they're playing Colorado. And
Yeah, sure.
I actually have a bet on Oakland to have the worst record in the league. And then literally 1 inning into the season, I texted my group chat. I was like, well, looks like the Rockies have entered the chat as far as worst record in the league, because that is ridiculous. My MVP, and you know where I'm going with this, it's freaking Starling Marte, baby. This dude looks awesome. He looks like he's ready to rake. He's going to be healthy all year. He has 3 runs scored already. He's looking good. He's looking healthy. He's looking great in the outfield. He's only got 2 hits, but who cares? He's on base 50% of the time so far. And that home run, the first pitch of the season. And I told you that second game was really the more impressive one. We'll see what he does later today. I'm excited for Starling Marte. Beautiful Dominican man who already, like, he looks back. He saw those cheerleaders dancing on top of the Mets dugout. I was like, I'm going to put on a freaking show for you guys. He heard Frank the Tank screaming. And by the way, you talk about the face of a franchise. Well, Pete Alonso is out dancing with freaking Zach Bryan. This dude is going to slide right in and take over as the face of the Mets and be the best dude on the Mets. He's ready for that role. Watch him be the cleanup hitter and the number 3 hitter by the end of the week. I love it. I freaking love Starling Marte. He's my MVP. And also just because it sticks it to you. And so I think it sandwiches the episode perfectly.
Yeah, I was going to say that was full circle.
We end with
right.
Starling Marte. That was the plan. I kind of thought of it that way.
Yeah, that was good. That was clever.
And, why not curry a little favor to the boss? Ryan, shout out. I hope you're listening and enjoying that. But
yeah, Ryan,
Marte,
shout out.
Yeah, exactly.
Shove it.
Yeah, exactly. Let me read the text from Ryan. Yes. Let me find it real quick.
Again, I'm gonna get to take the same kind of victory lap if he plays less than 100 games, or
that's
hey,
fine. You could
he's
take
got
the
a
same
muscle strain.
That's the point. Why are we living
lap.
in a day-to-day world where it's like, oh, today no, dude, come on. Either way, he basically told me to tell you to shove it. Anyway,
yeah, good. I'm telling him to shove it right back. No, he'll be fine. We'll see. We'll see. Time will tell.
We will see. All right, everyone. Enjoy baseball today. Although by the time you're listening to this, it's probably over. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be back Thursday. And then we'll talk more about fantasy baseball. Next one, we'll give you some of our where we're going to do stardom, sit-ems, just a whole bunch of different stuff. You'll give your prospect report, how they're progressing so far. So lots of stuff to get to on Wednesdays or Thursday's episode, I should say. But until then, please like, subscribe, share the podcast. That's how this podcast grows, and we can continue to put out this great content and tell you all about our favorite fantasy baseball players that play in either the Midwest or on the East Coast. That's pretty much what we do here. So until then, like, subscribe, share the podcast. Vince, you got anything for everyone else left?
No, just I'm so happy baseball's back. And
yeah, it's fun. It's been fun. Opening day. Like I felt nothing, I was like, all right, whatever. The Yankees, another disappointing season, but they pulled me back in. You know what I mean? 3 come from behind victories. I wrote this on Twitter. I was like, the Yankees came back in their first 3, had 3 come from behind victories in their first 3 games of the 2024 season. They had 3 all year last year. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it sounded good, so I put it out on Twitter.
I actually thought that was true. You had me buying in, but I was kind of like, that's a weird stat. Like I know like
it's not
more than that.
Yeah, they should have had more than that last year. That 82 wins. Yeah, they probably did have more than that, but I didn't check. I don't know, but I figured I thought it was going to go viral. That's why I tweeted it. I thought a lot of people were just going to whoa, that's crazy, crazy stat. Not true at all. I mean, it could be it's true. I have no idea.
I will say too, just ask people, if you're listening, ask us questions on YouTube. We got
I did respond to, and I did see. I should pull it up. This is a bad job out of me. And now we're doing this live. But there was someone who asked a question in one of our videos. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do try to respond to all of them.
You may have responded to it already. By the way, bad job by you. If you're responding to it, you should be responding to it on You should be responding to it on the podcast. So he asked
Sure.
about, so this was Jared Cole, shout out Jared. Lux for second base or Bryson Stott for second base? Gavin Lux or Bryson Stott? Who do you like? I'm a big Bryson Stott guy. I like the lineup, but I think Gavin Lux can play like a low-key role in the Dodger lineup. So I like both. Where do you go?
Yeah, so if you're playing for this year, it's definitely Stott.
Yep.
The one thing I will say though, if you're in like a dynasty league, Gavin Lux is probably extremely cheap and
Yes.
could return a great ROI. So if you're buying Bryson Stott, you're probably buying him at his peak. Like I do think he's got a little more power, but he's really not going to get a whole lot better, Bryson Stott. But that being said, he will be consistent for a long, long time. Like I don't think he's going to fall off the table anytime soon. But if you're buying based on potential ROI, Gavin Lux definitely has quite a bit of upside. He also could fall off a cliff much easier, I think, than Stott. So quite a bit of league context there. But if you're talking just this year, which I assume you are, yeah, definitely go Bryson Stott if it's just a toss up.
Did you see my reply before you gave that answer just now?
I go
My
Stott, but
reply
I
to
love
Jared was,
Lux
I
as a
go
sleeper.
Stott, but I love
Mhm.
Lux as a sleeper. So
I
pretty
do
much
see that.
exactly what you said.
Yeah, we're lockstep together.
We're
Love
lockstep
it.
on that one. So, Jared, thank
Mhm.
you for the question. And if you want to ask a question to the podcast, we'll be doing mailbag answers also. So, any questions that you have, if you throw them up on the YouTube, if you email us, one of us, you hit us up on social media, we'll answer those questions that you have. And as the season progresses and we get into questions like that, start them, sit them, stuff like that, we're going to obviously people are going to have a lot of questions like that. So, we'll get into all that and a whole lot more. Until then, Vince, I'll see you, buddy.
Yeah, see you, Rami.